Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more predator patterning. And today, we're bringing back out another load that a lot of you guys really liked. And it's one that's definitely pretty interesting and that I like shooting and testing anyway. And I'm thinking with today's combo, we should see some really good results. I mean, we already saw some good results the last time we tested it. So today, I'm thinking it's going to look even better. So for the shell we've got out here today, I brought out some more of the Salt Creek triple threat shells. These are a 12 gauge, 3-inch, 2-ounce payload of number 4 TSS shot, moving about 1250 feet per second. So a big, heavy TSS pellet, going to be carrying a lot of energy downrange at 1250 with a number 4 shot. So definitely a pretty potent setup for foxes, coyotes, and even up into hogs and stuff as well. And for those of you curious, I will be doing a penetration test with these at some point very soon, but for today we're running a pattern test. But I know a lot of you guys are going to ask, and it is coming soon. And as for the setup we've got to run them through today, I brought out the Remington 1187 again, but with the stock full choke in the gun. Now as for chokes for these shells, when I talked to Heath over there at Salt Creek, he suggested to start at a modified and work our way up from there, and that's what we did. We saw good performance through the modified, but on the website it seems to suggest a full choke for these, which I kind of agree with. So I'm thinking this combo should be pretty good together. I guess we just got to test it and see how well it actually patterns. But as for today's test, I have the big sheet of paper set up down at 40 yards. I also have the chronograph, so we'll be able to get our speed. And I also have a few of the templates out here today as well to get a better reference as to how it actually patterned when we go down and look at it. So let's get you guys set up with a view of the target. We'll take our shot, look at our chrono, and then go down and see how they actually performed. I have some really high hopes for this combo and these shells today, because I think we should see a pretty good looking pattern, especially if you're predator hunting with it. So let's go over here and get set up and take this shot and see what kind of results we can actually get through this full choke today. Okay, so that shell shows 1109 through the chronograph. The boss claims 1250, so I don't know. That could be correct, being 1100 feet per second, but generally Salt Creek is pretty much on the money with their velocity claims. And I think the last time we shot these shells, they were like 100 and something feet per second above the claim, but they do have a bunch of little plastic and cardboard, like overshot cards and stuff like that mixed in, which I'm willing to bet is playing with this chronograph. So 1100 feet per second could be correct, or it could just be one of the little plastic or cardboard pieces as well. When you have a bunch of stuff spraying out the end of your bore like that, sometimes it messes with the chronograph. Either way, 1109 is plenty enough energy down there at 40 yards, but how did they actually pattern? Let's go down and take a look. Alright, now we're down here at our 40-yard paper, and this is what we got. Now for reference, the white dot was my point of aim. The paper is 36 inches wide by a couple inches taller, and that's the pattern we got. That is ridiculous looking. For TSS 4s, that's going to absolutely hammer anything within that pattern. I mean, that's pretty much a turkey pattern almost out of these big old TSS 4s. You could turkey hunt with that, I suppose, if you really wanted to, but it would absolutely crush that turkey. There's no doubt about it, even though this is not a turkey shell. Now, we do see a couple of flyers. There might be one or two over there on the left, a couple, one or two down there at the bottom, and maybe one up there at the top right. But overall, I'd say 99% of the pattern is within probably 16-inch circle right there. That is just ridiculous looking. There's no doubt that that would absolutely hammer anything within that pattern. That would be a vicious groundhog load, fox load, coyote load, and probably even hit hogs pretty hard as well. And I suppose if it's legal in your state, you could probably hunt deer with it as well, but with that many pellets in the pattern, I don't know that I'd want to deal with that many pellets in my meat anyway. But let's throw some templates up here on it and get a little bit better reference, because this pattern looks really good. So we'll start out with the 10-inch circle and see what kind of pattern our core area has. Okay, here's our 10-inch circle, and if we line it up with our point of aim, yeah, you can very clearly see that there's nothing that's going to make it through that core area. We have one small little gap right over on the right edge, maybe, but with a core that has, from what I counted, close to 80 pellets in there, of TSS 4s, yeah, whatever's in there is probably not going to make it very far when it comes to predators or anything like that. So we definitely have a pretty hot looking pattern right there. But let's throw the hog template up and get a little bit better reference point as to what it might have looked like if you were hog hunting or predator hunting, since they are kind of sort of almost the same size. So let's throw that hog template up and see what that looks like. All right, so here's our hog template, and as you can see, 90+% of our pattern is on this hog. And I did forget to mention, I do have a 30-inch circle as well, but there's really no point in even throwing it up here when everything is within that, except maybe one or two of the flyers. But either way, here's our hog template, and yeah, if you were hunting hogs, absolutely would have hammered him, I would say. I would still probably lean a little bit towards a slightly larger shot size, even though these TSS4s will be carrying a good amount of energy. But hey, I don't think a hog's going to win that argument right there. Even if you're hunting a fox or coyote, which might be a touch smaller than this hog template here, they are absolutely never going to make it through that kind of a pattern. You're absolutely going to put the hammer on them. So that looks really, really good, I'd say. I wouldn't have any issues taking that out after any kind of predator, that's for sure. But just for one more sake of reference point, I guess, I will throw the deer template up, just in case you are one of the people that would try these shells for deer, just so we can kind of see what it would look like. I don't know that I would suggest doing it, but we'll put the template up just to see how it looks. All right, and here's our deer template, and yeah, pretty much the same story. I mean, if you were to try that on a deer, I don't think he would win the argument. But you can pretty clearly see why I don't think I would want to use these for deer. Besides them being a little bit smaller number 4s, they're carrying enough energy and penetration to probably do it. But you're going to have a lot of shot either in your meat, or if you do get a full pass through, it's going to be pretty tenderized for you, I'd say. Because that is a lot of pellets going right through that deer's shoulder and vital area. But either way, at the end of the day, you can't argue with that kind of a pattern right there. So that looks really, really good, I'd say. And I think I'd agree that probably these TSS4s pretty good through a full choke. So definitely thumbs up for me on this one. I think Salt Creek's made another pretty hot looking load here, that's for sure. Okay, and here's the wad from that shell. As you can see, pretty typical looking wad. It is a little bit on the thicker side compared to something like a turkey wad most of the time, but it opened up relatively evenly, and there's no rips, tears, pinholes, anything in here. And these TSS4s didn't even really start to dimple the inside of the wad, so I definitely don't think we're too tight on constriction. So, looks pretty good overall here, I'd say. At least nothing to take note of. All right, y'all. Well, what did you think about that pattern right there? That is pretty close to a turkey pattern out of a TSS number 4 shot meant for coyotes and hogs and foxes and that kind of thing. So I'd definitely say we got a pretty good looking pattern there, that's for sure. And I wouldn't really expect anything different out of a Salt Creek shell, especially one like this. They have their stuff pretty dialed. And I'd say they're pretty much spot on with saying a full choke for these shells is what's gonna work, because clearly it absolutely did. There's no predator or even pest vermin like groundhogs or raccoons or anything like that's gonna make it through that. But at the end of the day, you can't really argue with that kind of a pattern right there. So as always, leave your thoughts in the comments. Is that about what you expected? Were you a little bit surprised one way or the other? If you've tested these Salt Creek triple threat shells with patterning, if you've used them out in the field on anything from varmints to predators, hogs, even deer, whatever the case is, what has been your experience with them? And maybe what other chokes or setups might you want to see this load through? I don't think we can really choke it down too much into the tighter turkey choke range, but I have some other ideas in mind as far as choke goes that we can test. But if there's something you want to see, then by all means, leave all that stuff down below in the comments. So with that being said, I've got some more testing to film for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we have the channel Instagram, as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All that information will be in the description if you're interested in it, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.